Hello everyone, this is HDSK here, back with some more Starcraft 2 action. This time it is going to be the finale between Dimaga up in the top left side and down in the bottom right side. It is going to be NaNiwa. Now, the games are technically tied, but I feel like NaNiwa has had a slight edge in these games, and I feel like Dimaga has been playing his heart out, was able to barely hang on. I feel like it was so close to where NaNiwa almost sealed out the game with a beautiful 2-base timing, transitioning into a 3-base timing, did a lot of damage on the 2-base timing, wasn't able to finish it with the 3-base timing. I highly recommend going and seeing that game, even though I just spoiled it for you. That's okay, though, because it shows you the power of Baneling drops versus Protoss. This is something that we're starting to see a lot more as far as basically Zerg ways of dealing with timing attacks. You will see the Baneling drops a lot more. Now, how is this map going to work out? As Dimaga is going to be feeling pretty comfortable here, as he can engage the army in the center of the map, getting big surrounds. There's basically no alleyways in this map. I mean, like, this is the smallest choke right here in the center of the map. Everything else is just wide open. Like, look at this. You actually don't see a cliff on this entire screen right here. So huge places for Zerg to engage. Dimaga is going to be looking to make this game a longer-term game for that exact reason, I would assume. But it is all up to Dimaga what he decides to do here. He's going to move down here with the drone, try to engage this. He may just wait for the queen to pop out first before he throws down the hatchery, or at least starting the queen, starting the Zerglings. Oh, he did manage to get the hatchery down, though. That's going to be making him feel pretty good, and usually kind of how that works out is the drone will engage there, try and get a hatchery down. If it doesn't happen, though, you're not in terrible shape because you're just going to start some Zerglings, start a queen, and then by then you can clean out that probe and get that going. However, it's kind of like, it's a double high five, man, if you are able to get down that hatchery before any of that happens, as it will get his economy right on track. NaNiwa, forge fast expanding or die trying. That's something that he actually tweeted about. I think he tweeted it. He said it in an interview or something. He loves the forge fast expand. So if you're a Zerg player going up against NaNiwa, if you can figure out a surefire way to beat a forge fast expand, then you could beat NaNiwa. Just kidding, of course, he's an extremely strong player. We've seen him be able to hold the all-in from Dimaga in the previous games, but for now, I want to know what's NaNiwa's plan. I'm going to assume it's going to be some sort of 2-base timing. However, this map is relatively friendly for securing an early third base, and the way that you do it is completely wall in your ramps. We could drop another gateway, a cannon, a pylon, anything here to wall this in, and then he could bust down these rocks, set up an expansion here. All of a sudden, this is your new front door, and if the Zerg takes a risk to try and bust down this wall, then you swing around right here, force field the ramp, they're trapped, and then you're in pretty good shape. Once again, got to be getting that third base very early here for Dimaga. But one thing I like about Dimaga's playstyle that we don't see in a lot of Zerg, and it kind of reminds me of J-Dog a little bit, is that he doesn't go crazy with the macro. He actually will get big timings with his army to actually kill his opponent, as opposed to trying to whittle down their army in midfield and in the defensive leg. But he decides to go for timings that will actually end up just winning him the game outright. That heavily reminds me of J-Dog from Starcraft 1. Kind of curious to see how J-Dog does in Starcraft 2, which he has been playing recently a lot more Starcraft 2, actually, as Starcraft 1 is pretty much done with at this point. But regardless, we do see the probe. Gonna be scouting around here. Does see that third base the second that it completes. And it looks like for now, Dimaga's just going to continue forward with the droning. Now, the really big telltale sign of how Dimaga's going to play this game out is what are the next 2 waves of units? Is it going to be big waves of drones, which we kind of see one wave developing right now, or is it going to be some sort of big Zergling play with Baneling backup? I think for right now, though, it is mostly going to be drones, which means that NaNiwa is going to be the one to try and decide, well, how do I put on the hurt onto Dimaga? I mean, this is completely standard stuff to see out of Zerg players. However, we do see Dimaga going for the double gas at the expansion right away. He's already, of course, got the 2 inside the main base. Is it going to be a Robotech here? That's exactly what I think it would be. And no, I don't mean the anime. There's the first wave, big power play of drones. Gonna get his economy going right on track. And the Zealot will scout up here. May try and go for a singular drone. Dimaga will probably be able to save this drone. Unless he just says, no drone, you're on your own, brah. 2 more drones do spawn here. Dimaga might end up losing a couple if he's not careful. Looks like he is a little bit more careful there. And the Zealot will fall. Unable to kill any additional drones. Did delay mining by a little bit, but not a major loss for either player, and definitely didn't do any great economic damage to Dimaga there. However, right now NaNiwa doesn't need that singular Zealot, as he does have the sentries here for defense. If there is some sort of unscouted Baneling bust, he'll just be able to force field that right away. Not that a player would expand this early and then go for a Baneling bust. But we do have the double Evo chambers going down, and as I was mentioning, big waves of drones now. Well, he needs overlords, of course, at some point, but making a lot of overlords, and he is going to go for 22 lings once again. got to be getting out as many lings as he can possibly afford in his larva. You see he has 0 larva right now, so he's not actually able to make any more lings than this. There's more larva now popping off up to 7. Does he continue adding on zerglings, or does he start making some drones? I'm really curious to see exactly what these lings are for. And did he hide a baneling nest somewhere? Not that I can see. So no baneling nest out quite yet. He is going to be working on these rocks. Gets a complete surround, which is kind of funny to say for destructible rocks, but usually you will not see these rocks taken out in this fashion by that many zerglings. So Zerg players just usually don't have that many zerglings at this point. Down goes the baneling nest. Also going to get the lair as well. I love Dimaga. He's sticking to his guns. He said, you know what? It really worked out for me in the last game, and baneling drops are just so good versus Protoss. I feel like it's very underutilized. Kind of like Nidus Worms. I feel like Overlord drops are very underutilized for Zerg because Zerg are so used to just having the speed links. I mean, look at this. They move 4.7 speed on creep, so they're used to getting around the map very quickly. They're used to being able to hold off drops without needing to do drops of their own. And down goes what looks like maybe an expansion for NaNiwa. He's slowly tickling these rocks to death. Will eventually be able to clear that one out himself. Wouldn't be surprised to see the complete wall in up here either. Oh, there goes down right there. Going to be able to wall himself in. That's something we've seen a lot of Protoss players doing recently. And actually maybe playing the deny game. He's got to get down here the second the Nexus starts. Oh, that feels so good. There's the cancel. And I think this is exactly what Dimaga had in mind. He had to have had that planned out perfectly. He knew the exact timing of that third base. 2 force fields for 1 ling. Not really worth it there. However, they are mostly maxed on energy, some of those. So it's okay to use a little bit of energy here and there, especially if it kind of spooks your opponent a little bit. But at this point, NaNiwa is going to have to watch out for a lot of zerglings. That probe wants to build a nexus, but the army is in the way, delaying it even further. And I think that the probe may die. Nope, the nexus does fall, as Dimaga unable to stop that expansion from going down. We do have the Colossus tech on the way, which I think is a good choice. He is going to have to watch out, of course, for the Corruptors, as the lair tech is done. So we could see an infestation pit, or we could see a Spire here anytime. The creep strat for Dimaga pretty lackluster, as he has been focusing on just getting out a lot of zerglings, hiding them very well on this ramp, ready to swing back and forth at any location to defend potential drops, potential sentries in the main, or just a timing attack out of NaNiwa. And what are the upgrades at? They are at 2 attack already. He does have the ability to get +3 attack, which would be huge. 3 attack Blinkstalkers are so potent. A lot more difficult to use them versus Zerglings. That's where the Colossus splash damage is going to come into effect, which he did have. There's a Colossus on the way, wondering when that was going to start. He decided to start Thermal Lance as well. So he is going to be relying on the more old school Colossus, which is, it's always a good unit versus Zerg. I mean, there's never really been a time where Colossus are worthless, but Zerg players have definitely figured out how to deal with Colossus very easily. I mean, we saw Dimaga deal with it just using Banelings and Zerglings, which you think would just completely get owned by the Colossus, but then eventually mixing in the delayed Corruptors worked out great for him. We do have Ventral Sacs on the way, so it is going to be a Baneling drop. 27 Banelings right here. There they are, morphing on in. Does he have drop yet? Yes, he now does. And I believe, does he have the Overlord speed? Yes, he does. So he's going to be ready to go. As far as those Overlord drops, he has a Spire on the way now. I love this playstyle out of Dimaga. It is a little bit weak to mid-game attacks. You just have to make sure to control perfectly, because force fields will just wreck your day if you let that army get to your base uncontested. The cannon is completely walled in here, sans this except for on the right side. But either way, that's going to help him deny any sort of counterattacks. The pylon delaying the expansion there. I don't know if he saw the Baneling speed quite yet. I'm sure, though, he's got a good feel on how Dimaga's playstyle is going to be shaping up at this stage of the game. But both players are sitting back, macroing very happily here. Got to be in pretty good shape for both players. But NaNiwa needs to make sure not to lose these Colossus. They are going to be so crucial in dealing with the Banelings and dealing with the Zerglings. But with the Spire nearly done here, it can be nearly impossible for him to do that. And really, I think it's going to come down to, once again, NaNiwa's control and NaNiwa's force fields. Because basically for Dimaga, it's going to be load up in the Overlords, drop on top of the army, engage with the Zerglings, and hope for the best. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. However, if NaNiwa is not focused, he will lose his army in a heartbeat. How many Zerglings are we up to? I'm almost afraid to look at. 166 Zerglings plus 37 Banelings. Not a single Roach, not a single Hydra, not a single Corruptor. We do have an Infestation Pit on the way. Is that going to be just for Hive Tech, or is it actually going to be for Infestors? I want to say it's just for Hive Tech. The 2-2 is now done. Only 2 attack here for NaNiwa. He's got to try and find a timing here right when his +3 finishes, and will get an Overlord with Banelings in it. And that Baneling did manage to hit off those Stalkers, but right now, that means NaNiwa's got to know that there's going to be a drop in his main pretty soon. of pure banelings because, well, he caught one in the center of the map, although he wouldn't know that there's banelings in there, so maybe he doesn't quite know about this just yet. And this is going to be awesome by Dimaga. He's going to wait for the attack to actually happen, and here we go. Is it going to work out? This is going to be the decisive battle. NaNiwa wisely backing up, but I don't know if he's got enough. Does he have blink? Yes, he does. Will most likely have to blink away. Keep an eye on the overlords in the bottom right side when they decide to activate. That could be a lot of dead probes. But there is a maze of force fields here for these units to get through. Can NaNiwa hold on? For now, the Zerglings have completely surrounded. The Baneling drop has not commenced just yet. It does look like NaNiwa will get completely annihilated by the Lings. This playstyle by Dimaga requires a lot of micro, a lot of patience. But that's exactly what he did. He used so much patience that now NaNiwa's the patient after suffering so much pain. And it does look like the third base is going to be under siege by so many Zerglings. This is why you don't see Dimaga using creep spread, because he doesn't need it with this many Lings. 79 Zerglings plus God knows how many. More just spawned 113, 9 Banelings, but 38 on the way. And there's still the potential for Baneling drops on the right side. How does NaNiwa stop an onslaught like that with just this? It's going to have to be the most ridiculous Colossus control I've ever seen. The +3 attack's going to help out a great deal. But when it's 112 supply to 177, NaNiwa's got to know what's coming. It's 9,800 resources lost. But he did do a lot of damage to the Banelings right out of the gate. But guess what? Bane Rain, goodbye Colossus. I guess that Colossus is still going to survive for now, and there's the splash damage that we've needed to see. The Colossus up to 30 kills. That doesn't include the Banelings he absorbed. If he moves that Colossus up to the high ground, he could be in okay shape. However, Bane Rain over here means goodbye probes at every expansion. The main base is all that remains, and the amount of workers that have been killed off, 29 to 1. And that means these probes have nowhere to run. Pure Zergling going to win it here for Dimaga, mixing in the Baneling drops as well. And that's going to be enough to deal with NaNiwa. What an outstanding playstyle from Dimaga. That's a build that is not easy to pull off, but if you can execute it perfectly, well, obviously it's enough to beat NaNiwa right now. May even lose the Nexus. I don't think he will, but the Zerglings is doing ridiculous damage. 3-3 is on the way. I don't think he got the Crackling speed upgrade yet. No, he didn't. The Adrenal Glands, he could begin researching that if he wanted to, especially since he's going for so many Lings. But he is transitioning into Roach, which I think is a good idea as he buys time for the Greater Spire. Now remember, if NaNiwa is facing elimination here, he's not going to want to leave the game just yet. There still may be a chance to win. However, in Starcraft 2, it is so difficult to come back in a game. I know Flash has said that in interviews. Other players have as well. It's just so difficult to actually find yourself behind in a game to come back and win it. It's something you saw a lot in Starcraft 2, but you don't see it nearly. All right, you saw it a lot in Brood War, but not as much as in Starcraft 2. So we'll see if he can do it. I've counted players out in the past and then had them actually come back and win. That epic Braddock game is one example where I thought for sure that game was over 15 minutes earlier, and definitely didn't think he would end up being the winner. So right now the Archons with +3 attack should be able to do substantial damage to this army. However, with the Greater Spire on the way right now, this is usually you'll see a Greater Spire finishing at around 17 to 18 minute marks, and that means that Dimaga really hasn't missed much of his stride because he went for so many Zerglings, so many Banelings, still able to get the Greater Spire done at the 18, 19.5 minute mark. So yeah, it's not the 19.5 minute mark, not 18, but regardless, right now that means Dimaga has not missed his stride. He's not been thrown off in his macro. His income is absurd. Almost feel like we're watching a Terran who just dropped 10 mules right there. But there's the Broodlords on the way, which means NaNiwa has to move out. There's actually no way to deal with Broodlords as Protoss in this situation. The only thing you can do is hope for a great blink, and usually you're going to be relying on a Mothership Vortex, but that tech is nowhere in sight because NaNiwa got put so far behind. So at this point, NaNiwa has to attack before these Broodlords are done. I don't think that's going to be an option for him, though. And I feel like he's just going to be running as team. I mean, look at this army right now. Soon these Zerglings are going to have 3-3. The Broodlords are also going to have 3-3 for the Broodlings. Not the range attack for air, but the Broodlings themselves are the ones that deal the majority of the damage anyway. I'm kind of curious, what's the math on how much damage a Broodling can do during its lifetime? You'd have to take into account how long it lives and its attack speed, but that'll give you how much damage that can do, plus adding just the 3-3 to it makes it even better. So this is looking pretty good here for Dimaga, and I gotta say, he deserves it, man. He was backed against the ropes, barely hang out with Baneling drops, able to make the Baneling drops work once again. And ever since then, I don't think NaNiwa is gonna be able to recover. But I try not to call a game too early, because with this many Archons, you could still get some crazy splash damage going if you can somehow get the Archons under the Guardians. You got to remember, not Guardians, excuse me, Broodlords. Guardians are Brood War, man. That's old school. They do additional damage versus biological, which means every Zerg unit, and I think even the buildings, they're going to be taking extra damage from these Archons. So that's why Archons are pretty good versus Zerg. But with this many Banelings, this many Zerglings, and more importantly, the Broodlord count being way, way too high to handle, I don't exactly know what NaNiwa can do here. However, he had two options: try to attack before Broodlords were out, or wait as long as he can to get near maxed out. And every second that goes by right now, I mean, technically, NaNiwa is going to be catching up in supply, because right now Dimaga's maxed out. The only thing Dimaga can do to get more supply is build 100 spine crawlers and cancel them to get his supply over 200. But now that, honestly, now that Dimaga is fully maxed out, unfortunately for NaNiwa, that means the attack is going to commence here. He does have that +3 attack, I know, and he does have quite a few Stalkers right now, but we'll see if he can control perfectly. Now, these units are used for defending the Overlords, or the Broodlords, excuse me. They aren't used for engaging directly. And there we go, Fungals, there's the surround, and some of the Broodlords will fall, but is it going to be enough? NaNiwa having a surprising amount of units. Is he going to be able to do this? I would be very surprised, especially after losing that 4th base. The Banelings even getting some nice hits in there. There's the blink forward. We'll be able to take out the Broodlords 1, 2, 3, and 4. But keep an eye on that production tab. 94 Zerglings using every single larva probably. No, he still has 34. His inject larvas have been on point. So NaNiwa did manage to clean out that army and even up the units lost tab there quite a bit. But you got to remember, it might be too little too late, because the army is now replaced. There's the spine crawlers for defense, and may lose 2 more Broodlords here. It looks like he will. But the Fungals right there are going to trap all the Stalkers. That many Stalkers for 2 Broodlords is not going to be worth it. Hillary somehow surviving. Man, we need to make Protoss units out of whatever Hillary's made out of. But there's the GG out of NaNiwa. Dimaga is actually able to take this 2-1. What an awesome play out of Dimaga, as I thought for sure he was going to lose 2-0. But he was saying, Husky, don't you dare count me out, because I've been playing StarCraft for a long time. I'm freaking good, and I can beat NaNiwa 2-1. So big, big props to Dimaga. This is a big victory for him. Hope you guys enjoyed, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.